In this corner, the 2020 DC Essentials Sinestro by DC Direct, and in this corner, the all-new DC Multiverse Collector Edition Sinestro by McFarlane Toys. Both carry a retail price around $30, but is either one worth it? Place your bets and stick around. It's time for a Sinestro Versus. Welcome to 5 Points of Articulation, where I review action figures and then articulate 5 points to help you decide if you want to add that figure to your collection. The 5 points I discuss are packaging, presentation, posability, playability, and price. I'm Jason, and if you enjoy my content, please like, share, subscribe, do all the YouTube rigmarole. Starting off with the packaging, and as usual, I don't have Essentials box, but I do have this substitute. Normally in verses like this, Essentials gets the point for packaging, but this is the first time I've ever looked at one of these newfangled bougie collector editions. Similar to the regular, we have the name and logo at the bottom. This time, however, instead of being cast in white, it's a silver foil. That silver foil runs down the side where it says McFarlane Collector Edition. We also see that on the side of the box with something else new. A number. That's actually a cue taken from DC Essentials. That said, the DC Essentials boxes are a bit more colorful with character photography on the side, as well as a photo of the figure on the back, along with a bio and other available figures. Flipping Sinestro around and we get some very nice comic book art. Though my crow brain does like shiny things, for packaging, I still prefer Essentials. Moving on to presentation, and Essentials is just under 7 inches, whereas DC Multiverse is just over. Canonically, Green Lantern's greatest villain is supposed to be 6'7", but both of these are way too short for that. And to be honest, I can't think of a single Sinestro figure ever made that is in that proper scale. Probably because most Sinestro figures like these two were made using reuse. DC Essentials is near complete reuse of the basic DC Essentials body. They use the same basic one for pretty much everybody. Sinestro got new hands featuring his ring with the emblem sculpted on it, and this really fun new head. In addition to the widow's peak, pointy ears, and archy eyebrows, he has that signature smirk. There's even some extra paint detailing in there to bring it out. DC Multiverse has many of the same features, but not quite as playful. He does have the widow's peak along with the pointy ears and eyebrows, and of course he's got the mustache and yellow eyes. This Sinestro's a bit more serious though, and sadly doesn't have any of that shading. Similar to Essentials, his lantern ring has been given its insignia. This makes the lack of it on Sinestro Corps Batman that much more baffling. He's also been given a newly sculpted torso with piping and a collar, and also these pointy bits. The logo's also been raised and looks very nice, as does the silver belt. You know, the one Batman should have had. One thing I'm not crazy about though is how the diaphragm breaks up those lines. As for Sinestro's arms, legs, and feet, those are reused from Blackest Night Kyle Rayner. In general, I prefer the more devilish charm of DC Essentials, and I also think it's one of the best uses of the DC Essentials body, and in its defense, even DC Multiverse has its fair share of reuse. Multiverse also made the yellow lantern more yellow than gold and orange. Between that and all the sculpted detail for presentation, this round goes to Multiverse. Moving on to posability, and Sinestro can look up this far, and this far down with Essentials having the edge. Multiverse gets the edge though because he can actually tilt his head. Moving down to Multiverse can also raise his arm higher, and gets forward and back thanks to the rotator cuff. That being said, both have bicep swivel and double jointed elbows, but whereas Essentials has wrists that can only swivel and hinge up and down, Multiverse's wrists can swivel and then hinge up and down or side to side. Moving to the middle, and Essentials has an ab crunch and a waist swivel, whereas Multiverse has a diaphragm joint and a dumbbell waist. They can arch back this far with Multiverse having a slight edge, and they can hunch forward this far with Essentials having the edge. Beyond that though, all Essentials can do is swivel, whereas Multiverse can swivel and tilt. Below the waistband, and Essentials has ball jointed hips, whereas Multiverse has McFarlane style. Essentials can kick 90 degrees and do a really impressive split. Multiverse can kick even higher and do a perfect split. That being said, Essentials benefits from having thigh cut, though Multiverse does get a pretty decent amount of twist. Both of them have double jointed knees, but whereas Essentials gets boot cut, Multiverse has toticulation, and both of them have ankle balls that can swivel, hinge, and pivot. Also, no peg holes on Essential, which definitely limits some posing options. There is no argument that Multiverse has the better articulation, though admittedly I much prefer how the ab crunch maintains change the line work of the design over the diaphragm joint. Even so, fair is fair, and so for posability, this round also goes to Multiverse. Moving on to playability, and like most DC Essentials figures, Sinestro comes with zilch. Even Multiverse comes with a lantern, and lest you think it's reuse, it has a yellow lantern core symbol on it. Essentials doesn't have a grippy hand, but you can kinda dangle it from his open one. More importantly, Multiverse comes with this construct. Looking closely, you can see it's a tangled up barbed chain straight out of Spawn, with some Dr. Octopus style pincers at the ends. It wraps around his forearm like so. Naturally, Multiverse also has a trading card and a figure stand. Because it's a collector edition, it also has foil on it. There's even some of that on the back. And if you want to learn more about Sinestro, you can pause here. The bigger talking point on the collector's line is this trading card stand. This simple slab of plastic is what McFarlane's using to justify the price hike. In a way, it feels like a callback to the marquees that came with McFarlane's movie Maniacs. But playability is more than just energy constructs and trading card stands. It's also about how well your figure plays with others. Starting with the Green Lantern core collection, and here's the DC Essentials Hal, sharing the same body as the DC Essentials Sinestro. Here's Hal by NECA, who I think can honestly work with either. And then here we have DC Multiverse Hal, which brings us to DC Multiverse John Stewart. That said, if you want to stick with the fact that Sinestro is supposed to be 6'7", this Mattel Kyle Rayner isn't that far out of scale. From that point of view, the DC Multiverse Kyle Rayner is way too big. For Batman as a Green Lantern, and here we have Dawnbreaker, but for Batman as a Yellow Lantern, and here we have the Sinestro core version. His long gangly arms match DC Essentials, and the texture of his costume matches the DC Multiverse. Now if only any of their yellows matched. Batman brings us to the Joker and to the Legion of Doom. Here's Rebirth, 3 Jokers Clown, and Mortal Kombat 11. For another Batman rogue in the Legion, and here we have the DC Multiverse Classic Riddler. I was always hoping we'd get a DC Essentials version of him, but for something smaller and suited, here's the DC Designer Series Greg Capullo version. For one last Batman villain though, and here's the DC Direct Hush Scarecrow. For a Flash foe, and here's the Page Punchers Captain Cold. And for an Aquaman enemy, and here's the DC Essentials Black Manta. Switching to Superman, and here's Battlesuit Lex Luthor. That said, the Mattel Super Luthor doesn't scale half bad when you consider what the size difference is supposed to be. With that in mind, then here's the Mattel Multiverse Walgreens exclusive Bizarro, and here we have the DC Multiverse Rebirth Bizarro. Here's the DC Essentials Cheetah, who even by DC Essentials standards is pretty tiny, but for a couple of larger Legionnaires, and here we have Gorilla Grodd, and fair-of-face Child of Monday, Solomon Grundy. For a couple of Acromigliac Green Lantern villains, and here we have Atrocitus, and the Blackest Night Necron Megafig, but for a roll-to-scale comparison, here's Sinestro with Pizza Spidey and the Spectacular Spider-Man, and as always, here they are with Stealth Iron Man. Whichever Sinestro you choose will be a stellar addition to your Legion of Doom display, but even I have to admit that while accessories aren't everything, they do count for something. For playability, this round also goes to Multiverse. This leaves us with nothing left to discuss but the price, which was the main motivator for this versus. DC Essentials is a direct market figure, and upon release retailed for $28. DC Multiverse is a mass market release and retails for $30. Although he does come with a couple of character-specific accessories, there's still a lot of reuse here, so it's really hard to believe that that extra $10 isn't just for a trading card stand and some foil on the box. On the other hand, DC Essentials didn't come with anything, so McFarlane's already a better value, but on the aftermarket, this one now goes anywhere from $35 to $60. I predict that as this one becomes more available, it will become the dominant Sinestro figure, as it is honestly the better one. For price, this round goes to Multiverse, who wins the battle 4-1. Agree? Disagree? Sound off in the comments. Let me know which Green Lantern character you hope McFarlane makes next. If you like this video, check out one of these. Thank you so much for watching. I'll be back again real soon, but until then, play nice and have fun.